Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Garage, the podcast version of The Garage. Gerald here with you, of course, and I have a special guest to come along, and she might not realize this, but it's actually very, very special because this is really the send-off for the 24-25 award season. We're saying bye-bye to that. This will be the last official video, at least I think, that I'm going to be doing for this award season that's just ended with the Oscars on Sunday night. But say hello to my friend Siobhan from Awards Obsession. How are you?
Hey, y'all. I'm good. How are you? Oh, my God. What a great Oscar season we had.
I know.
You know?
Me and you are like-minded for sure, and thrilled about some of these results. So, we're going to be talking about the award show. We'll kind of give you guys our reaction to the broadcast and what we thought, what our favorite things that kind of stood out for us were. Siobhan, being that you're the guest, we'll get into specifics as I'll go through some bullet points I have here for different winners and stuff. But just general, up top here, what did you think of the 97th Annual Academy Awards?
I love the set of winners here. I think the ceremony itself was hit or miss. I think the beginning was really good with Wicked, with that opening little number they had, with Cynthia Riva, Ariana Grande. I was literally like tearing up. I was like, oh my God, Wicked is performing. I know it's not getting more than 2 Oscars tonight, but at least they get this opening number. But yeah, it was a great set of winners. Yeah.
Oh my God, for sure.
I was really excited. Yeah. I was really happy because a lot of my predictions came true. A lot of my non-predictions came true with Mikey Madison, with, No Other Land, for example. So it was a great ceremony. It was really, really awesome. Yeah. How about you? How do you feel about it?
I felt good about it. What did you think of Conan? I want to get your thoughts on the hosting real quick. Did you dig his hosting gig?
Oh, yeah, I did. I loved his Carla Sofia Gascon jokes.
Oh my God, so good.
And also, I liked the back and forth between him and Carla Sofia, because she actually had some really funny things to say after that. Especially with
I didn't see that.
The THC drink that she took, and she was saying, "I accidentally got high after the ceremony. I'm so sorry." But she didn't tweet anything, so that's the most important part.
Thank God.
So.
Yeah. No, he had some good one-liners, some good skits and stuff. The Cinema Scope or whatever it was called thing that was like a streaming service that was really just a movie theater. Like that was a funny little bit. The Adam Sandler bit. Yeah. I think people that follow me might know this, but I'm biased because I love Conan. Like I've always been such a huge fan of that guy since the 90s. So it was perfect for me. Like I was like, this is great. And I think what people might not realize, like we were very, very lucky this award season as fans of award shows, because not only Conan, but Nikki Glaser killed it at the Globes. Like that was like just an all-star.
I love Nikki Glaser too.
Oh my God. So good. Right? So we had a lot of great hosts this award season, especially if you're thinking about last year and some of the train wrecks that we had last year.
And BAFTA.
So let's go. And BAFTA was great too. Doctor Who, what's the actor's name? I'm forgetting now.
I can't remember. I'm British deaf. I don't know what's happening.
Crap! I forget stuff. Oh God, it's gonna drive me crazy. Anyway, okay, well, I'll take that part out. I can't remember. No, it's okay. I just can't remember his name for some reason. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we'll go through some of the awards here, Siobhan, and talk about some of the highlights for us. Now, obviously, let's start with kind of the obvious big winner on the night, which was really Sean Baker, and as an extension of Nora. Winning, let's see, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Lead Actress for Mikey Madison, producer on Nora, Best Picture.
Yep.
So Sean Baker broke the record. He won 4 Oscars in one night. Now, Walt Disney did that back, I think, in the 50s, but it wasn't for the same film. So this is the only time somebody's won 4 Oscars for one movie in the same year. So obviously a dominant showing from Anora here. Yeah. I know that you like the result because you and I are, fans of Anora, and we know that about each other. But let me ask you, instead of asking if you liked it, because I know you did, but what was the level of surprise for you as you were watching the show in terms of how well it was performing?
I was surprised at film editing. I think that was the only category I was like, whoa, because I had that at my number 4. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think that Honora would get film editing, but now that I look at the results, it makes sense, obviously. That's how we all
Mm.
work. It's how we operate, right? I thought Conclave
Yep.
was getting the award. It was sweeping all season and got the BAFTA. BAFTA is a great precursor for editing in terms of Academy Awards. And so at one best film editing, I was like, okay, we don't have to worry for the rest of the night.
No, we're good. Yeah.
But
I made a joke on my reaction when it won editing. I was like, you can go to bed. Like, if you're an Aurora fan, you can literally go to sleep unless you want to see the speeches because, like, they're winning everything.
yeah, I said the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and what really kind of bums me out from like a prediction standpoint, and I know you were talking shit to me on my stream the other night, but what bums me out is that I had Sean Baker winning editing for like a month. And then the
Yeah,
BAFTAs happened, and I got in my head, and I'm like, well, he's not going to break the record. He's not going to win 4 Oscars. And also,
right,
editors don't always feel the need to award like an outsider, because he's not an editor first. He's a
right.
director first, and then he edits his films. So I'm like,
Mm,
if he's going to lose something, it's probably going to be editing. So I took him out of my predictions. But had I kept him in there, and had I
yeah,
kept Dune Part 2 and sound, I personally would have gotten 20 out of 23. So I fucked that all up. I should have just stuck with what I knew was going to happen, but I got in my own head. By the way, if you guys
yeah.
do predictions, don't ever make last minute changes, because whenever I do that, it just doesn't work out for me. So I'm going to stop doing that. Did you make any last second changes with yours, or were you pretty much locked in?
I was locked in, except my last minute change was switching from Beautiful Men to Yuck, an animated short. But
Yeah.
that was my only
Shadow.
one because I only allow one a year. It's my rule. It's been my rule
Okay. All right.
since like 10
Well, that's
years
smart.
ago, since Spotlight, I think.
Okay.
I think I switched from Revenant to Spotlight and it won. So I was like, okay. But yeah, I switched from Beautiful Men to Yuck, and I didn't realize that that was my favorite short film. I saw it in the theater. So, but yeah, that's that's like a whole nother topic. That was the best animated short of the year, obviously, and it won. So now I'm going with my instinct, right? It's going with my heart, and I can't really move on from that. But yeah,
You talking about In the Shadow of the Cypress, right? Because that was one that I by the way, I haven't seen that as I'm sitting here. I also haven't seen
oh yeah,
Yuck yet. But what was interesting about that winning, and to your point, I think what I'm going to do going forward is I'm going to first of all try to see them before the Oscars, which
mm,
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This year I saw maybe half of them, and a lot of those I saw actually after the Oscars. I've seen in the last couple of days, but I'm going to pick the one that I think is the best. That I think is
you
like,
have to,
because you don't know, the shorts are going to trip you up. I
yeah,
mean, because I mean, animation is a perfect example because Wonder to Wonder, which I also hadn't seen, it had won the Annie, and I think it won British animated short film at the BAFTAs, I
yeah.
think, or it had another one. It had another precursor in there. And I'm like,
It
well,
had
okay,
a lot
well,
of precursors. Yeah,
yeah. I'm like, all right, well, I'll pick that. You know what I mean? But, the shorts are just
no,
they're definitely like a wild card when it comes to predictions. And it's just really hard because Shadow of the Cypress, I don't remember even seeing anybody predict that I follow or that I listen to.
Cody from Next Best Picture was saying that
Mhm.
it might win, and I had it
Okay.
when I saw the animated shorts. As soon as I left the theater, I put it at number one,
Hmm.
and then I saw people saying, "You're wrong. It's Yuck. You're wrong. It's Beautiful Men. How dare you put it there?" And I was like, "All right, well, I'll put Beautiful Men as a little side quest."
People don't know. Yeah, people don't know. I mean, the
Yeah,
shorts
no,
you
it's
literally don't know. So
right.
it's like that every year. So I don't know why I don't just realize that. But okay,
Yeah,
so let's talk about. So we're talking about Honora and essentially a sweep with the exception of Yuri Borisov. But at the same time, nobody could beat Kieran Culkin this year. Obviously, I preferred
no,
Borisov to Culkin, but I mean, Culkin was just like
same.
dominating this award season. So
Yeah,
with that Honora sweep, let's talk about lead actress because that was the race that everybody was
yeah,
kind of like on pins and needles about going into the night. And I'm super conflicted about it, even still as I'm sitting here a few days removed from the show, because I wanted Mikey and I stuck with her literally since like September. She's been my number one
right.
for
Yeah.
actress. So I do feel vindicated for like staying with her that entire time. But the Demi
Mm,
Moore narrative and the career piece, kind of the extracurricular stuff, in addition to
mhm.
the performances that are being judged, that was a strong narrative. Like, I've been covering the Oscars for a long time. It's just that career not having the accolades that it deserves, even just from a longevity standpoint, 45 years
Right.
without any kind of like award is like insane. So, because I predicted Mikey, and when it won editing and it already had screenplay, I was like, she's going to win. And I was like, the world needs to sit up and be ready, because I know a lot of people were leaning on the narrative versus kind of the awards resume. First of all, who did you predict? I feel like you did Demi, right? You predicted Demi.
Yeah, I went from Fernando Torres to Demi, like 2 days. When the SAG one happened, I was like, okay, Demi, I think is gonna win.
Yeah.
And I did not think, even with that film editing win, I didn't think she was gonna win until the moment Mikey Madsen's name was called,
Okay,
because
that's
of
what I was
that
going to ask you.
strong, yeah, because of that strong correlation between makeup, hairstyling, and Best Actress. But then I realized that's mostly for biopic, right? So unless it's like Brendan Fraser, but like that was a weird year.
And I'm not a genius by any means, but here's what kind of helped me with it to work through it, because to your point, the Demi narrative was extremely hard to like overlook. I mean,
It was.
I did a live stream because I was literally like stressed out because I was about to change from Mikey, and I'm like, I can't do this. What if she sees it? She's been my number one since September, and I'm like freaking out, But the narrative was so like contagious, like you just wanted her to get that, and I think people felt like if they predicted her, she would get it. But one thing I realized with this whole thing, and you were talking about the makeup correlation, which is a real thing for sure. And she definitely had that on her side, because obviously we knew Substance was going to win that. But the two things that really prevented Demi Moore from winning the Oscar, regardless of the success of Honora, was, in my opinion, was the horror bias with the Academy. I think that
And
really,
screen time.
Yeah, screen time for sure. But I think the horror bias like showed up finally to where it was like, okay, this is what we've been expecting here. And also the strength, Honora was just too strong. Like Mikey came along with everything else, really. And that makes sense to me, because I've always said that because people are super toxic. I mean, I'm sure you've seen on social media the last couple days,
I haven't been looking.
Attacking Mikey, talking shit about her brother, like just all kinds of really sick, twisted shit that is not warranted in any way whatsoever. But think about this, though, what the conversation would have been from the other side if Honora had won all that shit, and then the performance and the person that essentially carried that project didn't win. Like, that would be something too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
it might
people
have
would go,
been.
wait a minute, you didn't give Honora the prize, but you awarded it for everything else, like that would have been a thing too. And I just didn't see that happening.
Yeah, I'm not for stan culture. I'm for positivity, and I've been seeing some stuff on Twitter, because I have to be on there obviously, and I see some, people are shit talking Mikey Madison. It's like, why?
Yeah. I don't know.
Why not be happy for someone who is in their 20s giving a lead performance of a lifetime?
Yeah.
And why don't we make room for these actresses that are coming in that are not, like the mainstream kind of actresses? They're coming in with like indie credentials, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and like, well, they're not indie credentials, but like supporting credentials, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
making their voice heard, and like making themselves known for best actress type quality material. And I felt like the win was really helpful for that, and I'm really happy that she won. I don't like to see the Twitter nonsense. That's not what I'm about. But yeah, it was a really great win. And like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But at the end of the day, we had a positivity spread of wealth. We had Golden Globes go to Fernanda Torres, and a whole country rally behind an actress and a film that won Best International Feature over a film that got 13 Oscar nominations, Emilia Perez, plus for international feature. Plus, we had Demi Moore, who won Critics' Choice, SAG, and Golden Globe, and then we have Mikey, who won BAFTA and Oscar. I think it's a great year for actresses. 3 amazing performances. So what's to be mad about? There's nothing to be mad about. Oscars are not the end of the line category or award show to be worried about. There's like so
I
much
agree.
more. I think that's what people don't understand is that there's so much more to award season than just Oscars. Oscars are just like the little olive on the martini. The martini is the real drink, and the olives are like the
Garnish, yeah.
aperitif. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree with
If
you.
you like olives.
Right. One thing I said on my live stream after the show, because a lot of people wanted Demi to win, and frankly, I did too, which is kind of the weird irony of all this.
Of course.
But Mikey didn't do anything wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, she can't be held accountable for what the Academy decided to vote for, what they said the best performance was, or what they thought the best movie was.
No.
And it's just so unfortunate and toxic that, luckily she doesn't have social media. I saw that today that, she purposefully doesn't have it on her phone and stuff. Thank God. So hopefully she's not seeing most of this stuff. But, Demi Moore and Fernanda Torres too have both already come out and, congratulated her and basically told people to chill out. Like, she's an amazing actress. It was a great performance. Like, she deserved to win. And kind of like what you said, the three ladies that were 1, 2, and 3 in this race this year are, I mean, far and above class acts and 3 of the best performances. I mean, honestly, of like the last 5 years from Academy nominated perspective. I mean, they're just all so good.
Definitely.
And, flip a coin. I mean, flip a coin and say a name and it's going to be a good winner. So it happened to be Mikey this year, and I'm thrilled for her. I'm bummed for Demi because of that narrative and because you ask yourself, like, she's 62. This was obviously the role of a lifetime. Is this going to happen again for her? Like, you can't help but kind of think that stuff. But
I mean, it could.
Yeah, I think it will, honestly. I think, if nothing else, I think the substance is going to maybe help boost her in the twilight of her career here a little bit. Not even that she needed it, but, now she has that to add to it.
Mikey might be, the next Meryl Streep kind of.
You think?
Actress? Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking she's on her way to be maybe in like the Natalie Portman, Kate Winslet kind of path, maybe.
Kate Winslet, yeah, or Kate Blanchett.
Yeah,
she's on her way. This is the role of a lifetime, and she nailed it. And now it's just onwards and upwards for her. She has like 2 roles lined up: one with Greta Gerwig, one with Colin Hoover. If it's the same production, I don't know what it is, but I've seen like a couple of things out there that are really promising for her.
Yeah,
and Demi, of course, she has something lined up, of course. And then Fernanda Torres, I think this is a win for her, but like, I don't see the reason for hate behind a win.
Me neither.
It's just Oscars,
I hate it. I mean, they're all lifting each other up, and then you have these folks online, in their basement or whatever that think it's productive to like attack somebody because the person that you wanted to win didn't win. And it's toxic and it's ridiculous. And I hate it. I went on a podcast with some buddies of mine last night and it came up and we were talking about it. And, we all had similar mindset that it's just so unfortunate. And this, but following the Oscars.
Have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, you can't. And, you have to try to block it out. That's why I said I'm glad she doesn't have social media. So. Yeah, you brought up Fernanda Torres. You brought up I'm Still Here. So let's shift to the international win because I don't think a lot of people I know you do, but I don't think a lot of people realize that was an upset. Like, Emilia Perez should have won that. If you're looking at precursors and you're looking at what happened on the circuit and pretending like the controversy may or may not have had an effect. I mean, Emilia Perez was the front runner for that category. And I'm Still Here was this Brazilian film that had the passion of, like you said, an entire country. And believe me, I've seen that firsthand. I love those people. And they've really embraced us as a community here in America covering this award show or these award shows.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my favorite win on the whole night because I was so – I mean, you know how much I hate Emilia Perez. And I know you're not a defender of it necessarily, but you like it more than I do. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But I was so fucking nervous because A, I hate Emilia Perez, and B, I love I'm Still Here. I love Brazil, and I'm like, please, God, don't let this movie that is like literally 5,000 times better than Emilia Perez lose to that film. So I was genuinely nervous about that category, even more so than Mikey Madison's category,
You
honestly. Like
are.
I was more worried about I'm Still
Really?
Here winning. And I felt elated when it happened. How did you feel? Did you see that coming?
Yeah, I wasn't worried at all.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
I no, not at all. I saw it. Here's the thing. I'm gonna explain this in my video when I reacted to the win.
Hmm.
Voters saw this way after Amelia Perez.
Hmm.
They saw it right before the deadline. And this is why Mikey Madison didn't win, by the way, or Demi Moore didn't win, because
Hmm.
they went from Demi Moore to Fernanda Torres. Pretty sure. This is my opinion, but like
It could be. Yeah,
I think
sure.
they saw that. Older voters saw that and they said, "Wow, I reminded of that time in the '70s, and I'm gonna put it there, the vote."
Hmm.
And that's just my opinion, but like it's not even just that; it's just like a way better film. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's like I have a thing that I'm doing called best of the four. So fiction, nonfiction, uh, feature plus nonfiction, documentary plus animated, and I have that as my nonfiction feature of
Mm.
like a reenactment of what's happening. So I adapted screenplay basically,
Okay.
and I found that to be like, yeah, that's like the best one of the year. Like Honora
Without
and
a
I'm
doubt.
Still Here are my favorite films of the year that are not documentary, not animated. So I just went on my gut there, like I should have with documentary. But yeah, I didn't find it to
Well,
be a surprise.
I commend you that you were so confident in it. For me, my thing is like I saw Amelia Perez this season. I mean, as like a villain, like a dark cloud looming over me this whole season. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was just like kind
Yeah.
of scared of it, like because they gave it 13 fucking nominations, which, regardless that it only
Yeah.
won 2, that still pisses me off. So I mean, there's no way that film should be one shy of James Cameron's Titanic. I mean, this is like insane to me to put that into perspective. And I was just worried
It's
because I'm
true.
like, they obviously loved Amelia Perez. They gave it so many nominations. It already won 2 international precursors with similar voting bodies. And
Right.
I'm like,
I
this
mean, it
could
won a
go
lot.
really badly if you're a
It
fan of I'm
it
Still
could have.
Here. Yeah.
I mean, it
But
won
I'm glad it
Caesar
didn't.
for best film. It won Cannes for
Hmm.
jury
The jury
prize, right?
prize. Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
it's the thing is like I'm Still Here wasn't as widely spread out to those film festivals as it was
Hmm.
here at the voting base. Last minute, people
Yeah.
watching that film, and I'm gonna say a million times over again, Carrie Coon watched that film last minute and was raving about it. And I was like, Carrie
Sure.
Coon, please vote for that for Best International Feature. I was on Twitter like, please, please, please.
Yeah.
And it won. So like I think that voters really responded to that film. It's so much it's gonna stand the test of time, right? Emily Perez is
Yeah.
the film of the moment and it's very controversial. Listen, I love Amelia Perez in a way that I don't think anyone else understands, which is fine. But like I like I'm Still Here. I'm Still Here is my number 2. Amelia Perez is like my number 14 of the year.
Okay.
So just remember that. Yeah, it's not a surprise for me. Like I saw what was it, Hannah Cass was like, Amelia Perez is not losing this because it's got 13 nominations. Listen, Colors of the
I,
Flower Moon didn't Colors of the Flower Moon lose every single nomination it was for? Gangs of New
yeah.
York.
But Scorsese has a bit of a
There's so
curse there
many
too, because the same thing happened with The Irishman, and I think he had
with
even
the
more nominations for
Irishman,
that. But
and that's
look, I mean,
Scorsese.
you are awesome because I can tell that you're just like confident in your conviction of honestly the quality of the film, which now I predicted
Yeah.
it too. So I mean, thank God. First of all, I was not going to predict Amelia Perez, even though I thought there was a like 60-40 was where I kind of was sitting before the show started. But I was not going to predict Amelia Perez because I'm not going to
Yeah.
put that energy out in the world for that shit. So I predicted it for the
Yeah.
2 that I knew it was going to win before it walked in the door, Saldana and El Mal. Both of those wins I'm okay with, detaching from the rest of the project. But yeah, I'm Still Here. To your point, though, I think the main kind of catapult for that movie was the recency of it. It hit at the
Yeah.
right time. Like people were watching that movie literally they were being exposed to it and watching it at the right time when voting was open for that like 10-day window for Oscar voting.
It's like the Brazilian $1 Million Baby.
Yeah,
It
exactly. Yeah,
is. It's
yeah.
it is.
I agree. And
It
what
really
another thing
is.
I want to point out too is that I don't buy into that whole the globes don't matter thing either, because this is a perfect example. Now, Fernanda Torres, was nominated there, which by itself alone was amazing. But then she wins the award over some pretty heavy favorites, honestly, in that category. And she wins the award at the
Mhm.
Globes. She gets on stage, beautiful speech. That's her only exposure all of award season, televised at least. But that moment and that movie winning was like, that was it. That was like, here it is. You need to see this. And so they already had that going on in their
Yeah,
heads. And then when it gets nominated for Best Picture, forget it. Everybody's going to watch it. I mean, if they watch anything, if the 10,000 people at the Academy watch anything, it's the 10
I
nominated for
watched it.
Best Picture. Yeah. So that was my favorite
Exactly.
win on the night personally, just because I was so worried about it. So when it happened, it was just this huge relief for me personally. I was like, oh my God, thank you. I don't care what else happens. Like Brazil won this, I'm good. So that was
Well,
my favorite.
I was worried about it for a second. I mean, like, for a second, I was worried about it, but
Sure.
at the end of the day, I have to trust my predictions, and,
Yeah.
it was my favorite. It was one of my favorites of the year. Anora and I'm Still Here are my favorite of the year, with Flo, with No Other Land, now that I've seen it.
Yeah, sure.
So, I didn't want it to lose, of course, and I also, was like, "What will happen to Brazil if it loses?" That's the other
Oh
thing,
my God.
because it's obviously the best picture from an international
Sure.
country this year. So if it loses, I'm gonna be upset as much as other people are.
Yeah, especially since All We Imagine Is Light wasn't eligible, which was probably tied for my favorite international film
Yeah.
along with I'm Still Here.
Yeah, I think I'm Still Here is a little bit above than, All Imagine Is Light for me.
No, that's great. Yeah, I mean,
Just
you
for
said it was
me.
your number two
I
of the
liked
year, so I
All
get it.
Imagine Is Light, but
hmm
do you think that in the next couple of years we're gonna change the rules for international feature? I've been seeing a lot of articles about this.
You'll have to fill me in as to what the pitch is. What are they thinking about doing?
They're thinking about getting rid of the requirements for a country to submit their film for international feature, because I think it's ridiculous,
It is. I agree with that. It's
you
it's
know?
like hoops. It's
Like, what
like hoops to
about
jump
countries
through.
that don't agree with their art form,
Yeah.
you know? Seat of the Sacred Fig, for example.
Speaking of international, I know
Yeah.
that you are a huge fan of Flow, and that maybe we'll shift to
Yeah.
that for animated feature. That may have been, I think, what could be categorized, at least for me, as the most interesting win of the night. I know yourself and several people that I follow predicted it to upset The Wild Robot. We're sitting there talking about I'm Still Here, probably, whether we want to admit it or not, probably narrowly beating Emilia Perez for the international feature. But conversely, a movie like
Yeah.
Flow upsetting The Wild Robot is like literally David and Goliath. I mean, that's like the craziest shit if you look at it on paper,
Yeah.
because The Wild Robot had everything with the exception of the Globe and the Indie Spirits, but that happened after voting closed. But Wild Robot had everything. And I'm talking about from the critics groups, from the Annies, from just the backing of DreamWorks in terms of the millions of dollars they spent to push this movie out. And not only that, it was a good movie. Like, it's not like Wild Robot was like this kind of throwaway Disney property or something. I mean, it was a great film with a great
No.
narrative. Lupita Nyong'o's voice performance was stellar. I mean, top tier animated film.
Yeah.
And then you have this little unique, hand drawn, kind of weird, dialogue free Latvian film that I was championing, but now that was an upset. I mean, I know you're sitting here all confident about I'm Still Here, but that was a bona fide, like, holy shit, the animated branch is not playing by any kind of like rules about what is expected in the industry of animation. So I know
Yeah.
you predicted it and you were happy about it, but what was your level of excitement, surprise when that award was handed out?
I was surprised. I took a risk. The reason why I went with Flow, it was like 3 days before the ceremony took place, and I said, "You know what? Flo's winning," because I saw
hmm
Flo, and then my boyfriend's grandmother. saw Flo, and she said, I prefer Flo over Wild Robot. And that was so rare. I just thought that was really weird for her to like prefer one or the other. So I was like, you know what? Maybe Flo does stand a chance against Wild Robot. Because here's the thing. People love a David versus Goliath kind of narrative, especially when it's like very semantic. It's a very like, it holds its course against Wild Robot. They're both like really good films. So if you take one against the other, and one is made for much less than the other, and the one is like has a really great story without beating your head over with the story message, and you have so much support and passion for one film over the other, that's like, yeah, we like the film. I'm going to put in sound, I'm going to put in original score, I'm going to put in animated feature. Yeah, I went with it because you know why? It is a better film. At the end of the day, it's a better film. It's going to stand the test of time. People 20 years from now are going to talk about Flo inspiring their film, while Wild Robot is going to sit in the backdrops, in my opinion. They're going to talk about like, oh, I used Blender to use my film as a kid, and now I'm using this great animation studio to make my film, and they're going to be on the Oscar stage. They're going to talk about Flo 20 years from now. I promise you.
Right. Like the grassroots independent feel of it is definitely an underdog story that was obviously very juicy for the folks that were voting in the awards this year. But, you know, like I said, when I asked you about it, it's the most interesting win because what I think it does, if you pair it with The Boy and the Heron from last year, which Miyazaki, whatever,
and Pinocchio.
And even more so Del Toro's Pinocchio, like that's 3 years in a row now where these like really kind of weird auteur, unorthodox, you know, animated films have beaten big studio animated productions. So I think that, you know, and you did it this year, so good on you. But I think that going forward, for me at least, and for a lot of people I know, is that the animated prize at future Oscars, at least, maybe not the other award shows quite yet, but future Oscars at least, are going to be tough to call, honestly, because, I mean, Wild Robot got 2 major nominations in addition to being nominated for animated. It was obviously widely loved by the Academy, various branches, and the precursors that I mentioned too, and then obviously it is a well-reviewed and a great film that did great at the box office. I mean, it literally had everything going for it. Like, there's literally no reason why it technically should have lost. But the underdog, come from behind grassroots narrative that Flo had, and Blender, and the dude sitting on his bed by himself with his dog when he gets nominated, and that went viral. I mean, all that shit is like perfection. You know what I mean? I predicted Wild Robot because I didn't see any way around it based on what had happened. But the whole time I was pulling for Flo. Like, I wanted to be wrong. So when Flo won, I was ecstatic. And I think it's such a interesting niche, like a pattern now. Because if you say Pinocchio started it, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, in a way it did.
Yeah, where we really don't know what they're going to do going forward. I mean, we really don't.
I think also like Pixar is not as much of a thing anymore. So
I mean, they've had their accolades. They've had their accolades. They had their, they had their honeymoon period where they got all their awards. You know what I mean? People are looking for something different at the end of the day. That's really what it is. And Flo is definitely different. I mean, it's
and we voted the voters' body. We've expanded outwards, and now we have like amazing filmmakers working animation. So it's inevitable that this is happening, and I think it only inspires studios that are more mainstream to branch out and hire these folks, or for vice versa. So it's a good thing all around. I'm really happy about it.
You mentioned, was it your grandmother, or you said your friend's grandmother or something like that?
Yeah, my boyfriend's grandmother was like, I prefer Flo over Wild Robot. I was like, what?
Yeah, you mentioned that, and
she loves Mission Impossible. Like she likes films like that. So the fact that she liked a non-talking film over a mainstream animated film that, honestly, in my opinion, was a really good film. Like I watched that and I was like, well, that was really good. Like that was in the top 20 of the year for sure. Yeah, for that to happen, I was like very shocked, and for her to be like, "Yeah, this is much better than Mod Robot." I was like, "Okay." That's
Yeah,
all
and
it took me. I switched it after that.
the flip side of that too, and I think you've heard me talk about this before, but my 11-year-old Logan, he does like artwork, he like doodles and makes comics, hand drawn comics and stuff.
Yeah,
And when he saw that story of the filmmaker of Flow using Blender, he like downloaded it on his laptop and he wants to use it to like
yeah,
bring his like
for sure.
drawings to life and stuff. I mean, and that's an 11
It's
year
so
old
cool.
versus your boyfriend's grandmother. So it's like, obviously it's speaking to several different types of people. The story, I mean,
Literally
just him.
everybody.
Let me go through some of the categories that we haven't touched on yet. Now, with the
Yeah.
exception of the ones that we just mentioned or that we've been talking about,
Mhm.
a lot of these really kind of went according to plan for the most part. So there was nothing,
Yeah.
at least for me, there was nothing like super surprising outside of the ones that we've already kind of talked about. But I'll just go
Me
through them and
either.
see if there's anything you want to say about any of them. So Adrian Brody won for lead actor for The Brutalist. Obviously, we knew that was going to
Yeah.
happen. He did not win the SAG, so there was like a maybe 15 to 20% chance for Timmy, but I was not hopeful. So Brody ended up winning
0%
that. What did
chance.
you think of Brody's speech? Because he broke the record for the longest Oscar speech. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you before you answer. It
You
kind
know
of
what?
annoyed me a little bit, but go ahead.
Here's the
Go ahead.
thing. Here's the thing. I don't care how long they say to talk. If they want to talk, let them talk. They won the
Sure.
award. Let them talk.
Sure.
You know, he won the record for most words talked and most time taken. Just like Brutalist is like such a long movie. You know what? Whatever. I don't care. But yeah, it was a lot. You know, it was like a lot of nothing.
I don't care either, but the thing that bothered me about it is I don't think he had anything to say after he was like, stop, and then he just kind of fumbled around his words for like 2 more minutes. But also what bothered me about it even more than that is when they were cutting other people off and playing them off stage, like Bloomberg for The Brutalist, the score
Yeah.
winner, Walter Salas
Whoa.
for I'm Still Here. They cut him off. Like, I'm like, what?
And visual
Why did you let
effects.
visual
Oh my
effects?
god, visual
They cut the
effects.
mic off.
Oh, I was pissed. I was literally in my video. I was like, why are they cutting off the mic when I know for a fact Adrian Brody is going to be talking about his performance for 10 plus minutes?
Yeah, that's what bothered me more than anything else, honestly. Like if Brody wants
But
to stand up there and fumble around, have his moment or whatever, then great. I don't give a shit. I mean, we're here to celebrate movies and performances, so I don't care. But don't cut other people off in the craft categories because you had to give Brody 10 minutes to. I don't even know what he said.
It seems like the whole world is telling the Oscars, like, stop cutting people off. We're like, we don't like to see that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For the supporting roles, obviously, we knew these were locked into. These were probably the most predictable on the night. Kieran Culkin won for A Real Pain in supporting actor, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez for supporting actress. How do you feel about those wins? They're kind of boring to me, personally.
Should have been
really.
Yara Brisov and Felicity Jones, in my opinion.
Okay, should have been Ariana, but that's fine. You do it.
Or Ariana Grande.
She was my pick, as you know. But
I got my award expert app ready to go.
Sure.
Categories
for
already,
good.
but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was okay with these, but
I was okay with them.
I typically tend to deter against sweepers. Like, I don't really like sweepers. I like it from a prediction standpoint because it's easy to predict. But I don't like it, like, as a fan, kind of like cheering for the performances. Like, I want mix-ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at this point, it's like, if you don't give it to them, I feel weird because, like, it feels like a disappointment to them.
But what I mean is, right, you're right. But what I mean is, like, let's say...
Yeah. No, I feel you, though.
Let's say Ariana had won SAG, which I thought she was going to, but of course she didn't. Let's say she had won SAG. Then Zoe winning here would have at least come with a hint of suspense, like a little bit at least,
That would have been cool.
Yeah. But she swept, and so did Culkin. So, and it didn't help that, and of course this is subjective, but I mean, it didn't help that for me, these were not my two performances in these categories.
But you know why, G-Dog? Co-lead performances.
Yeah, I mean, they're leads. Yeah. I mean, for me, it would have been Guy Pearce probably, and there's a lot I liked in the supporting actress, but it would have definitely been Ariana Grande, and I also love Monica Barbaro. Bro, did you see her on the night of the Oscars? Holy shit. She was looking
She looked great.
good. All right. I was going to go ahead and tell you.
Yeah.
So we obviously talked about Mikey already winning for lead actress.
On that note, Monica Barbaro, I think, has a Best Actress win in a couple of years.
Yeah, I could see that. She slayed
Definitely.
Joan Baez.
After
that was so good.
Top Gun and then A Complete Unknown, I think if she gets paired up with a director who's on a tour like Sean Baker, and she definitely will. She's a good actress.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Lowell Crawley for The Brutalist won cinematography. No real surprise there, although Nosferatu, Jared Blaschke would obviously be my pick. I mean, in fact, that is the best cinematography.
Lachman above him. I'd Ed Lachman.
That was actually really good too. That was actually a really, really good one too.
Yeah, it's the only thing I liked about Maria. Was the cinematography. Everything else was.
Yeah, but the hard truth in a category like that is that if you don't have the Best Picture nomination, you're just not going to get it. So we knew it was going to be The Brutalist, or maybe Dune Part 2 could have upset in that category, but I was pretty sure. I was pretty sure it was going to be The Brutalist.
That's why I knew it was The Brutalist.
Yeah, costumes and production design both went to Wicked. The only two Oscars they won on the night. Those were both expected. Did you think there was going to be a third one for Wicked on the night?
I thought maybe for a second Sound.
Yeah, me too. I was like, they're going to win a third one.
Was Dune Part 2. It was only because the order of the categories announced. I was like, is it possible for Sound? But then I was like, not for editing. So I was like, yeah, I know. I went to Dune Part 2.
It could have actually surprised in editing. We don't have the Ace Eddies. We didn't have the Ace Eddie results, but it did a lot of those like split screens and like it had a lot of flashy editing in Wicked. So I didn't predict it, but at the same time, it was like kind of sneaky.
Yeah, when's the Ace Eddie's coming out? It's like in a week.
I think it's this weekend. Yeah. So let's
why? Well, why so late?
It was because of the fires and all that. But yeah, it was really frustrating that we didn't have the result. So for documentary feature, I know you actually just saw it, I think today, but No Other Land wins here. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad it won. This is another one that I was pleased to get wrong. I didn't predict it because I didn't think the Academy would mess with it because of this subject matter. No, I predicted Porcelain War because...
Oh, we all did.
The Academy doesn't do this shit, man. That's why I'm saying it's getting harder, which is good. I mean, that's great. I would prefer that. But it's getting more difficult to kind of figure out what they're going to do because, this could be seen as a divisive subject matter and definitely a touchy subject. And I just didn't think they would want to mess with it.
It's not a divisive subject. When you see that film, you know exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, if you're for this part of the world or that part of the world. When you see this film, it is so powerful. You see these people being pushed out of their land. It doesn't matter if you're from one part of the world, from one state or the other. It is an amazing documentary. I was blown away. I was literally shocked at how good it was. It's literally in my top 10 of the year. It's an excellent film, and I'm kind of angry at myself for not predicting it because it is literally so good. It is. Not only is it good, like in terms of subject matter, is good in terms of cinematography, in terms of storytelling, in terms of editing, everything. So,
yeah, no,
I'm angry at myself for not predicting it.
Without a doubt, I mean. Well, the thing about, I knew it was the best documentary, but
yeah, of course, it's you.
The Academy's politics, unfortunately, usually, obviously not this year, but usually cloud their kind of perspective on what the winner should be versus kind of the safer pick when it comes to these biographical and especially like in the documentary branch. So I was like, all right, well, this is too heavy. They're not gonna do this shit. They're not gonna make a quote unquote political statement with their winner. But I'm glad they did because this is the movie that should have won. When you're talking about documentaries in general, some of my favorite documentaries aren't even in here. Will and Harper, for example.
Will and Harper, Daughters.
There's this beautiful movie called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin, which is a phenomenal documentary.
The Irish film.
Yeah, so
Why is it not
of the
there?
ones
I
here,
don't understand.
of the ones here for sure, it's No Other Land. So I was thrilled that that won, and it's a very important movie. So I'm looking forward to that getting out there to
It's
more people now that it's won.
it is. I think it's purposely not being marketed towards American audiences for a reason, because it is
Hmm.
so unbiased in its viewpoint. And I think that's why voters went for it. I didn't realize how unbiased it was, because it literally shows you what's happening. And
Yeah, sure.
it's very well done. So, I wasn't surprised when I saw it tonight. What happened with my viewing, I was like, okay, that one for sure.
Yeah, I love
Over
it.
Postal Noir, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. This is
Well,
the winner,
especially since they just awarded a film kind of surrounding the Ukraine story too, with 40 Days in
yeah,
Mariupol. So,
which is
um,
amazing.
yeah, it's a great
Yeah,
film. I mean, I'm glad. I'm thrilled that it won. I don't care that I got it wrong. That's the movie that should have won. I just kind of didn't have faith in the Academy to do it, so they proved me wrong this year, which is great. Actually, in
me
several
too.
areas, so it's great. Um,
I thought you
Adapted screen.
predicted No Other Land, though.
I did for a while, and then I changed it to Porcelain War.
Oh no, you shouldn't have
Yeah,
listened to the
I had
folks.
it. I had it predicted for quite a while, and about
No,
I'm
I
trying to
had
think,
it too, and then I was
maybe
like,
like
oh, Scott Mantz is saying no. Joel Schneider's saying no, so I say
yeah,
no.
yeah. I think maybe a week before I switched it to Porcelain War when it
So we have to stick with each other. We have to
whenever it, whenever it won the DGA for documentary, that was when I switched it. So,
um,
yeah, I mean, it had the precursors and also the No Other Land narrative. I was just afraid of the Academy embracing it, so I was just like, But
yeah,
I'm glad No Other Land won, and I think it was the right choice.
me
Um,
too.
Adapted screenplay went to Conclave. It was the only Conclave Oscar on the night. Are you surprised by that?
No, I'm actually, it makes sense, because if it doesn't win editing, it only gets one award for adapted screenplay. That makes sense. It's happened time and time again for films that are, oh, it might win Best Picture, but who knows what's happening. It's happened so many times, so I was not surprised at all. And honestly, my pick would be for Nickel Boys, but Conclave was a sure pick for me.
I was surprised only in the result that it didn't win editing. I predicted
Yeah,
it to win editing, and I
same.
thought, I don't know, I just I got in my head, I just thought that Sean Baker's great, but I'm like, are they going to really give this dude like 4 Academy Awards on
No.
the same fucking night? Like, I just talked myself out of that happening.
Yeah,
Um,
me either. I was like, wait, Conclave is winning editing everywhere. How's it
right,
losing here? And it did.
right. They
Because they're
just
the
loved
Best
Nora.
Picture
They
winner.
just
They
loved
loved
Nora. Period.
Nora.
Yeah, I mean, that
We didn't
was what it came
realize
down
how much they loved Nora. They
to.
really fucked with the Nora. Like
No, big time.
like you and I, they loved Nora.
Yeah,
Like
it was
everyone
like
else.
us. It was like us voting for the awards. I mean, it was like insane.
It was.
The thing with Conclave, though, that I kind of realized on the night, I don't know if you've watched my reaction video, but I talked through it on
Yeah.
that video. But what I kind of realized is that The Brutalist was number 2, not
It was,
Conclave. I think The Brutalist
obviously.
was number 2. It's weird because, this whole season, Siobhan, we've been like, and I mean, me and you, yes, but I'm just talking about collectively, people that cover the awards have been like, this is the most up in the air race. And like, we don't, any of these races could go all these different ways. And like, everything was kind of mysterious around certain categories. But then when the show started and the Academy started telling us the story of what they, wanted to win this year, it was super.
Right.
I was like, we're good. I could write down everything that's going to win right now. Once the show
Right.
started, the first few awards,
Mhm.
like if I was doing predictions after those first few like major awards, I could have told you every single award that was going to win the rest of the night.
Yeah.
So
Same.
and it was like the mystery was just gone in the blink of an eye, which is kind of crazy because we were all just kind of like really battling with certain categories. And then the other ones
Yeah.
that we thought kind of maybe were locked up, like Conclave for editing, for example, were not locked up, and they were not even close to
Mm-mm.
what we really thought. So I don't know. It was a crazy thing. I wanted to ask you about it. That was pretty much all the categories that I wanted to ask you about because the other ones were pretty obvious. But so A Complete Unknown blanked. Okay, 8 nominations, 0
Almost, yeah.
wins. Um,
Oh, yeah. No, nothing. Yeah, I wasn't surprised by that. No.
yeah, it's a bummer, man. It's a bummer.
It's like,
James Mangold is a great filmmaker. I think he's like he's got that kind of like dad vibe though. Like he's your dad's favorite filmmaker, you know.
facts.
And I wonder if that hurt him a little bit. But you know,
maybe.
I know it has its detractors or whatever, but that's a good movie. I mean, people that go against it in terms of like they just don't like it. I think it's because they just don't like music biopics anymore, and they're kind of like grouping anything that would fall in that category into that bucket. That's what I think.
I think it's just I think it's just like a certain subset of moviegoers that really care about those films, and then we have a certain subset of filmmakers that really care about more like original characters. Because you see
Right.
Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave even performing so well, and then we have biopics that are not doing so well right now.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Oppenheimer is an anomaly.
That was different.
It's different.
Oppenheimer's a bit of an outlier, really. I mean, it was the most obvious thing last year, but at the same time, it's different than really anything else in the last like at least 5 years.
Yeah,
so,
but also like Christopher Nolan, like he doesn't do biopics.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
so,
I could have told you. I mean, it's like the Odyssey right now, which just started filming. You know, it's like when I heard Nolan, I can't remember, but 3 or 4 years ago or whatever it was, when I heard that Nolan's doing an Oppenheimer biopic, I'm like, okay, well, let's get the red carpet out. I mean, the guy's coming for all the shit. You know, he's coming for all the gold. So, some of these filmmakers and some of these auteurs that you just hear a project and you're like, okay. At a minimum, this is going to be a player, if not a huge winner. So I kind of felt that way with Oppenheimer. But, you know, this year, we can kind of end on this discussion if you want. But
sure,
it kind of frustrates me a little bit. But I know that's also because I'm a Nora defender and I'm biased. It was my number 3 film of 2024. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what was the top 3?
My top 3 were Nosferatu, Dune Part 2, and Anora. Those were my 3.
All right, it's a good top 3. Nice.
But it kind of bugs me and irks me a little bit that the awards community as a whole kind of doubted Anora up until Oscars night. Like they were kind of like wondering if Anora was going to pull off Best Picture, which then inherently kind of makes me question my thought process. But I thought, especially after the DGA PGA weekend, like I thought Anora's fucking good. What are y'all talking about? And I just want to ask.
The end for me.
Yeah, you were there too, right?
Yeah, I thought that's it. We're done.
I thought it was so obvious that this is the industry pick this year. You know,
exactly. Palme d'Or, WGA,
oh my God.
PGA, DGA, CCA. Plus,
I mean, what are we doing? Why are you guys like? I saw some of our friends from you mentioned next Best Picture earlier. I don't remember who it was, but somebody put up a tweet a couple of weeks ago about how Anora had to do this and this and this to get Best Picture. I'm like, it already has it. Like, I didn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, why are you like? It's gonna win. Like, it's going to win. Like, if it does not win, and then they were
saying Mikey was going to win Best Actress. I was like, well, if she wins Best Actress, then why not Best Picture? Why not Best Director? Why not Best Original Screenplay? It doesn't make sense. So, like,
I think at the end of the day that collectively as an awards community, we may have like made it too hard on ourselves or tried to make it too hard on ourselves this year. I feel like at least the Anora stuff, I feel like was pretty obvious after the DGA PGA weekend. I feel like we were kind of like, all right, we're good.
Like you're saying, I was like trying to take away from Anora. I was like, oh, maybe Anora doesn't win Best Actress. Maybe Anora doesn't win Best Editing because people don't see it as an editing win. And Conclave did so well at BAFTA, and we're going to put it there. And then we'll put Demi Moore because it's a makeup and hairstyling. You don't need to do that. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right,
all right, well, the 2024-2025 award season is done. And the best thing about that, Siobhan, is I don't have to talk about Amelia Perez ever again. I'm never talking about it again. I don't care if anybody
think about the hate behind it anymore because everyone hates it and I'm okay with it. And it's like
I
Every
get
time
it.
I go
I
on
get it.
Twitter, I'm just like,
I get it. I get it.
just
Well,
fine.
thanks for coming on the pod this week and talking through the award
Of
show
course.
with me. I thought it was a great show. I thought Conan
It
did
was.
great. Obviously, you and I are in agreement that most of the awards were awesome. Like I loved all the winners pretty much. I mean, I was bored with the
Definitely.
supporting winners, but I mean, of course, they were going to win. I knew that was going to happen. So
Same.
nothing you can do. So let's stay in touch. Let's keep doing stuff because award season's over, but we love movies, and before we know it, the new award season will be upon us next year.
So what are we working on next, G-Dog?
I don't know. What do you want to do? So we I don't know. We'll figure something out because
At least.
Yeah, sure.
What are you doing next?
I'm going to be, when it comes to award season, I'm going to probably not till the end of the month though, because I did it last year, like in April, but I'll do like an on the radar video.
Nice.
So all my
year?
performance, yeah, for the award season coming up. So I'll put all my movies and performances are kind of should be on your radar, which I haven't done that research really yet. So
yeah, I'm doing one as well. I'm doing one on a retrospective of Bong Joon-ho.
Nice.
Mickey 17. Nice. I've gotten through all his films, thank God, in like 3 days.
It's good shit.
It's a good retrospective. I suggest anyone to watch all his films. Super good content right there. It's gonna inform you all the way to this next film.
The guy is a master. I'm seeing Mickey 17 next Wednesday. So I'm avoiding. I did the thing where you can mute the hashtag on Twitter because I know my friend Fuji and a couple other people have already seen it. So I muted it because I don't really want to know what anybody thinks about it. I don't like to get preconceived thoughts in my head about a movie before I see it. So I'm seeing it next Wednesday. And I think Monday or Tuesday I'm going to see the new movie Novocaine with Jack Quaid, which I'm also excited about.
I am too. Yeah.
So I'll be checking those two movies.
And Black Bag.
Oh, nice.
I'm cashed out.
Why don't you tell people, Siobhan, where they can find you? I know you're predominantly on YouTube. Just let them know where they can look you up over there.
Yeah, you can see me on Awards Obsession on YouTube and on Twitter. That's my handle. So if you want to check me out, and we can have some fun together. We can check out movie reviews, awards retrospectives, director retrospectives, as well as any kind of awards ceremonies, little, get behinds, if you want to get behind all that, give me a look, and I got you.
All good shit, and she's a new channel that's growing, and I'll put her information down in the show notes if you want to click on it and give her a sub over there. We've become really close the last couple months during this award season, kind of working out this anxiety together. So it's been awesome to get to know you, and obviously we'll keep at it leading into the next award season too. But Awards Obsession on YouTube and on Twitter. Give her a follow. That's it for this week. That is it. From the awards garage, at least, that's it for this award season. I can't fucking do it anymore.
No more Oscars, please.
I can't. I did 3 videos. What'll be this week, which is the week after the Oscars, and I'm like, why am I still doing videos about the fucking Oscars? They ended. So this is it. But thank you for coming on, Siobhan, to talk about the Oscars, the 97th Oscars with me, and I'll be talking to you soon. Make sure you guys follow Siobhan on YouTube, and I'll talk to you soon, honey. I appreciate it.